It's Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. I've recently decided I'm going to start calling y'all my Fix It friends. And with my country accent, that might sound like Fix It friends. So I'm not saying Fix It with Fran. If I say, hey, Fix It friends, I'm going to work on that. See how it feels. See how I feel about it. But I wanted to show y'all what was going on with my AeroGardens, because this little glow you see behind me is my AeroGardens. I just started them back this weekend. Wanted to tell y'all about it. So here we go. So I hadn't mentioned to y'all, one reason why I wasn't doing anything with the gardens, wasn't doing any garden video updates, is that during Hurricane Ida, like, my gardens went for trash. Like, some of the gardens have pieces missing now from where our ceiling fell in the kitchen. It was a mess. And then part of me just wasn't ready to deal with everything when we came back from the storm. So the few herbs that I had growing died. What's funny now, for those ladies in some of my Facebook groups and folks that know me from before with these videos, my husband, when I mentioned to him that I was ready to try to do the gardens again, was like, oh, can you grow us some basil, and can you grow some cilantro, and da-da-da. So if you have naysayers or doubters or folks that are just kind of like skeptic of the AeroGardens, just know that after a couple of months you'll have them convinced. At least that's been my experience, because my husband definitely grew into liking having fresh herbs available for cooking. So I mixed in some different packs that I had, because I've had a couple of different AeroGardens and I have a whole bin that I'll have to show y'all where I have them stored in a cool, dark place. This pod right here is my Thai basil that I put in. I think that came from one of the larger, like, 16 pod kits that I got. Rosemary is another one that I ordered online, and then ended up getting some replacements from AeroGarden when they didn't sprout. So I'm gonna try rosemary again. Here is curly parsley. Right here is actually one of these grow your own replacement pods by Urban Leaf that I ordered from Amazon. I'll put the link in the description. I put that in. Now this container right here actually says chives, because I used the plastic casing for the AeroGarden, or that comes with the pods. Need to clean that off a little bit better. But I reused one of those and put in my own seeds, so that's why that says chives. I wanted to go ahead and use another one that was like a pre-made AeroGarden, because I didn't want to worry about the light getting in and algae growing. But like I said, I may have to clean off this one a little bit more, because I saw some algae residue on that one. This back here is Genovese basil. That's another curly parsley, because we do like parsley. A lot of times I will make tabbouleh when we have a lot of parsley going on. And then back here is another Genovese basil, because we do like basil, and I like to grow my basil plants, harden them off, and put them outside. I love the ornamental look of basil. And if you didn't know, basil is a plant that can perennialize. Many of the herbs that we grow, and we kind of just grow them and use them and discard them, can actually perennialize, and that means that they will harden off and come back every year. When you get a herb that has hardened off, you'll see that the stalk becomes really woody instead of that bright green that we're used to seeing. I actually have some lavender outside that I planted in ground for that very reason. I'll try to maybe clip in a video of it or show y'all that, because lavender here in New Orleans is kind of challenging to grow, because we have a very humid environment, and lavender does not like to have what they call wet feet or wet soil. But what I learned is, for every growing zone, there's a variety that can sometimes be more inclined to grow well. So I went and planted some Spanish lavender that I got from City Park, our botanical gardens here in New Orleans, at the City Park Pelican Greenhouse, and I planted them and they grew. One of them was destroyed by Hurricane Ida. It was blown off, and I didn't realize until it was too late that it was under our landscaping fabric, but it wasn't in the ground, so it completely dried out. But I'm gonna go back to City Park and get another one, and yeah, I'll at some point go outside and stitch in a piece so that y'all can see how big the lavender has grown compared to when I first planted it. But that's what's growing right now in my gardens, and this is the first one that I started. I'm gonna start my farms with some cherry tomatoes and some peppers. I have 2 farms in my kitchen, and I'm gonna let those grow and hopefully get to a point as well, because tomatoes, surprise, are also perennial plants. Tomatoes do not have to be annual plants. Often we plant them that way. I don't know where I stopped because I paused when I turned around, but tomato plants and pepper plants can perennialize, and that means that they'll come back every year. So often, especially commercially, we'll hear people tell us, oh, you got to go out every year, start your tomatoes over, or go to the box stores or your garden supply and get new plants. If you can get your tomato plant in a nice sheltered place, you don't even have to water it that often. Just give it some time, let it kind of go into hibernation. Your tomato plants will come back. I've had that happen for me at our previous house, even at the community garden for some past years. So I try to do that now. I actually outside have a pepper plant that I'm gonna go check on because last year, with everything going on with pregnancies and stuff and dealing with Monica, I didn't tend to my garden here that I was establishing as much. But I have a pepper plant that's outside in the pots on the side of our house. It gets rained kind of frequently, but well enough to keep it alive because that pot has green onions that have been growing for me since 2019. So I might have a for real onion bulb growing in the ground right now. But I want to share that with y'all because tomato plants and pepper plants can perennialize, especially if it's an indeterminate one that you could cut back and then it would have new growth sprout out. So if you didn't know that, if you're interested, I've seen folks in some of these AeroGarden groups on Facebook that have been growing their tomato plants in their AeroGarden for over a year. Some folks going on 2 years. I think I even saw somebody on YouTube that might have this growing for like on 3 years, but it can happen. And if you're diligent, if you prune it, if you tend to it, you can keep it growing. So that's what's growing for me right now. That's what's growing Wednesday. I'm going to check in with y'all later, let y'all know when I start these other gardens and keep it coming. But hey, Fix It friends, thank you for checking in with me. If you're growing something in your gardens, let me know what's growing on. All right, y'all. This is my lavender plant that is out here in our front yard. I'm trying to look at it now, see if I have offshoots. I do. There's some little lavender babies growing underneath. Like if we look right here, that's a separate one that's grown up itself. It smells amazing. Like I was saying about the herbs, once they get older, they'll give you this woody look to the trunk. So it looks almost like a little tree. Now there are some places here that kind of died off that I'll need to prune back. Like that happened after the storm, but it bounced back. And it's like, hold on. This is my boot. It's almost up to my calf, I guess. Not quite up to my knee. Pretty tall. Like it comes up to like, almost up to my knee. Sorry, y'all. This is bad camera work. I'm trying to look and record. But definitely, I'm a big proponent of planting things that are native to the environment or at least can survive in your growing zone. So we have some dianthus here as well. That's my little watering jug from my AeroGarden, AeroVar. And some lantanas that even though they look like raggedy, scraggly sticks, if you look really close, they're starting to come back. So I never, ever, ever cut down my lantanas until spring starts in. A lot of times this wood that looks old and dead and like there's no life left in it will start to really spring back when spring comes. And then I kind of just shape it from there and cut away the areas that's dead. These right here, I believe, are some paper whites. And when I say these, I'm talking about these darker green leaves. They started coming up for us probably in December when we had a warm front come through, and then they stopped because I was like, oh Lord, my plants are confused. I think it's spring. But I put them here, and when I planted these ornamental grasses, I kind of forgot about them, but then I was trying to plant around where I thought they were based on some of the bulbs that I ran into. So I think for the most part I cleared them. Definitely need to do some weeding. This is a winter garden for sure. But over here, these right here, and the other problem that I had, if you look closer you'll see it, it's rabbit poop. The rabbits have been finding my flower bulbs and enjoying themselves, so they've been feasting. So I'm happy to even see the fact that there are some still growing here, because I thought the rabbits were going to get me for all of my flowers. So literally, these are out of the ground because the rabbits pulled them up, and I'm going to have to put these back in the dirt. And I guess they're fair exchange. They're leaving me some fertilizer poop, I guess, if we want to look at that on the positive side of things. Come back to it. Right here, it's funny because I think one of the bulbs must have got caught under the edge whenever I was putting down these borders for the beds. So I wanted to wait until spring when I saw this coming up, because once I see it kind of bloom, I'm going to then finagle with this and try to get it out. But let me show y'all something else that I was surprised by today. All right. So again, the garden is going through what it's going through. Hibernation mode, starting to spring back. Remember when I told y'all that these mums, even though they look like death warmed over, would come back? This down here is my mum putting out new growth. And what caught my eye today when I came to the mailbox is not only is there new growth, there's a flower. So it's trying to bloom. So you hear that snapping because literally what I will do when I try to prune this is just come and try to naturally kind of fold away some of the dead area and get that out of the pot. And then you'll see even in here where it didn't look like there was any life, there's some life going there to this area. And sure enough, the plant's going to show me where it wants to come back. And I'm going to put these in the ground this year. So these greenery and mums will be in our mailbox. And the same thing is happening to a lesser degree on this side right here. The mum is coming back in the bottom of the pot. So let me go show y'all, because once I saw this, I looked at some of the others to check, and yes, more of my mums are coming back. I love here, these are some dianthus that my mom picked out. I like that it's going to be a nice kind of purplish burgundy complement going between the two flowers. Okay. Let me show you that. I had some snapdragons in this entryway of our walkway. It's a wintry mess. And at one point, I saw some greenery coming up, and I thought, is that a flower? And I was like, no, it's a weed. And I was like, no, it's a flower. Y'all, my snapdragons either self-seeded or perennialized some kind of way, because they have come back. I didn't even realize that they were, I guess, cross-pollinating or setting seeds. Here's another one that doesn't have any color to it, but you can see on that very top part where that's about to bloom purple. And if we come up this way, so all of these little green things right here next to the grass that I thought were weeds, snapdragons, y'all. Right here, those are snapdragons, all coming back. And I did a video when I originally realized that these were coming back and they were actual flowers. This right here, I think, is actually a weed. So that was another surprise. Still got one more. Here's one of my mums that we had in the house. We moved in 2019, that I put in the ground last year because they had come back. And then I saw where they were dying back, and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know how this is gonna go, but I'm gonna trust it. So when they died back, I did not pull them up out of the ground. And look what we have here. The telltale sign for me are these leaves, because these leaves are very different than weeds, and I kind of recognize them as the signature chrysanthemum leaves. And right next to that is one of the planters that used to be on the porch. So what do we see happening down here? Yep, she's coming back. So let's move back one more. This is one of the big chrysanthemums that I had up on the porch. Looks horrible. Makes it look like my entire garden bed is death warmed over. But deep, deep, deep in the middle, it's coming back. That, yep, are those chrysanthemum leaves that let me know the base is not dead. This baby wanted to show off. So that was another thing that caught my eye looking around out here, is that this should be an orange chrysanthemum, has come back. I think, no, that's just extra growth, not another pup coming up next to it, but it has come back. So that's another one of my plants from 2019. So there's still some not so promising things, but I'm gonna keep hope alive. I'll show you. Right here is another one of the mums that was just back here in the corner. We don't really have any sheltered areas here. We don't have a privacy fence on the backyard per se, so there was no way for me to really tuck this out of the way, so I just let it sit right here. And it looks like this one hasn't shown me any signs of new growth just quite yet, but I'm not gonna give up on it. I'm just gonna wait, let it get watered a little bit more, come out here, spray it down whenever I water some of the other plants, and see if it bounces back. We got the same thing going on over here with this chrysanthemum. I don't know if this is the orange one or a yellow one, but it's still hibernating. It hasn't decided to wake up just quite yet. Right here, you probably can't see it. I can see it if we look, trying to see the camera. Way down there in the middle. I'll do an indicator on here to show y'all. I don't think it's gonna come into focus for me. Way down here in the middle. Yep. That right there looks like some new growth is starting. So I'm going to make sure I water this one on the regular. But just wanted to show y'all, like I told you, if you keep hope alive, you keep kind of watering these plants, I'm going to be doing some significant work to these beds, because my canna lilies all died back. They got really beat up during the hurricane, and yeah, they didn't make it. So this part I really cut back and cut down, and it should be coming back up. I want to show y'all too where I had some zinnias that popped up for me. This looks like it may be one right there. They've already died back, but this right here, this little stalk with this little red flower sticking out, I had some zinnias that had grown, and then some right here. So given that they're died back, it looks like they may have already self-seeded. I may have a little garden of zinnias pop up right here. We shall see. But that's really everything that's growing right now. So I wanted to show y'all that, let y'all know, get y'all that snippet. As always, this is Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. I truly believe and want to leave this with you that it's my belief that God has given us all gifts and talents that can fix some problem that exists in the world. We may not be able to fix everything. I don't want you to even try to. Sometimes it's just one thing. But I truly, truly believe that, and I want to share that with you and encourage you, if you've never heard me say it before, to find that thing and fix it. Thank you so much for watching. See y'all later. Bye.